I was 66 when this all began. Like Sharon said, I'm a busted up veteran. A service-disabled veteran means that your injuries which caused your disability were incurred in the honorable service to our country and to each of you, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. I'm held together by multiple metal implants, such as these, which hold my spine together. I'm only ambulatory and able to function because of a very unique blend of prescription medicines, compounds, notions, potions, and lotions, which keep me functional. I was denied all of these while a guest of the feds, and that denial was intended to do exactly what it did, which was ramp up my suffering. One of many awful torments. They will have their delights, won't they? When you're a federal prisoner, you don't get a phone call, but what you do get is an 8x10 concrete block tomb with a solid steel door on one end. I was given a burlap blended short sleeve jumpsuit, one plastic blanket, and a threadbare sheet. All of these to try to wrap myself up in against the continuous cold air blast through the vents into that torment box. It swirled around. The concrete floor was my bed. 53 days in prison, 49 days in solitary confinement doesn't sound like very much when you consider that so many J6s were subjected to much longer times of incarceration, even years in pretrial confinement. But my time there pushed me to the absolute limits. That's when they brought the real torture. Everything they've learned through years and years of abusing people. The loud banging sounds that would happen intermittently, never any quiet. Flashing, pulsating lights, the type that created a strobe effect that you can even see when your hands are across your eyes. Then came the beatings, of course. Other things, worse things. I remember clearly being chained up, flat on my face, with somebody holding my legs apart while they kicked me in the groin over and over again. And they mocked my faith when they said, "Hey boy, why don't your sky daddy come down and help you? You've been praying to. Where is your Christ?" I never want to forget. Scientists make a pretty good living on the lecture circuit and writing articles for various publications about what this kind of torture does to the human mind and the human psyche. The accepted research says that torture like this, in a very short order, creates irreparable damage to the human brain. I know I'm not the only J6er who has gone through this. Princess Diana once said, if you want to know the quickest way to dismantle a personality, it is to isolate it. And that's what they did. Shut in with the demonic things that lived in those walls, I gotta tell you, they were really ramped it up when they turned out the lights. Total darkness, not it's nighttime darkness, the kind of darkness where there is no light source. That's when the things come out. I felt things touch me. It feels like you're falling. You can never make a connection. You could never grab a hold of something to stop that feeling. And those things crawling up on your chest and breathing the funk of the grave in your face are enough to just push you over the edge. Suppose, on a long enough timeline, in solitary confinement, everybody's sanity will move to zero. It's hell on earth. How to survive. I'm no Superman, I'll tell you that. I'm no artist either, as you can tell. Some of my little scratchings that I managed to put on a piece of scrap paper and smuggle out of the prison to Sharon. We didn't know if we'd ever see each other again. I wanted there to be some kind of documentation, a couple of notes, a couple of pictures. It was just my way. This is not supposed to happen in our country. But friends, it did, and it does, and it happens where you can't see. We lived for those phone calls, Sharon and I. Those phone calls that we could have handset on a cord shoved through a slot in that steel door. She did her best to keep my spirits up. It's a funny thing what desperation and unimaginable pain will do to your prayer life. She reminded me what it says in Philippians, where they say, it's okay to pray to the Lord in everything, through prayer and petition. With thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. How in the world do I come to God with thanksgiving in that pit? What I've been doing up to that point wasn't working. Let's give it a try. So on that same concrete floor that was my bed, also became my place of prayer. And I said, God, thank you that they haven't beaten the tar out of me today. Of course, the day ain't over yet. And then I said, thank you very much for sparing Sharon's life on our porch. Thank you for the love we have. Then I was on my way. My prayers changed that day. By the time that I met our second attorney, after the first one took us for a ride a little bit, I had been reduced to being in a wheelchair, unable to even go 20 feet without assistance. When our attorney, who was sent to us by the Lord, Sharon and I believe in that so strongly. And that's another story, folks, for another day. When our attorney, Mr. David W. Fisher, who had told Sharon, I don't need this case, I want this case. Your husband is innocent. When he got on the case, he got the judge to assign a new date for a new bail hearing. And soon I would be released to go back to Sharon and try to put it all together again. I was raised like Lazarus. And like Lazarus, Orange, Virginia became my Bethany. And I had a brand new idea about what it meant to die to self, because I had lain on that floor with no dignity, no hope, no pride, only prayer. I have a new take on being born again, I'll tell you that. From the Where Are They Now department, the commandant of the Central Virginia Regional Jail, who was responsible for all of my mistreatment, a guy named Hoffman, in the months following my release, was promoted twice, from lieutenant to captain to major. Not too shabby. Christopher Cavanaugh, the assistant U.S. attorney who would lie to the magistrate, he became the U.S. attorney for the Western District of Virginia, and his wife, a few months later, was made a judge by Joe Biden. We didn't have much news when I was in prison, but when I got out, I found out that a couple of organizations had been thrust into the national spotlight with regards to January 6th. It's important when you're weaving a tale, as the Department of Justice was, to find a focus for people's anger and ire. There were two principal groups, although many people were just attacked individually. One was called the Oath Keepers, and the other was called the Proud Boys. One I know a little bit about, the second I know nothing about. It's reasonable for you to ask, since you, Tom,